I think every boy wants to think that their mother is a great cook. And so in 2013, Abdul Rahman invited me to join him in Egypt. Actually, I think I invited him, to be clear. And he was telling me how great his mother is as a cook. And I heard him, but because I think every boy believes that about mom, and to be clear, you don't really know if your mother's a great cook until you had a chance to try other people's food. So you don't really know. Um, but on my trip to Egypt 10 years ago, truly the highlight, like if I listed the things that I most enjoyed of my trip to Egypt, it was Abdul Rahman's mother's cooking. Um, so we arrive in Egypt, and yeah, so we get to Abdul Rahman's house, and which is not far from the pyramids, for the record. And so then the next day, we go to the pyramids, and this is right after the snow thing. So it snowed in the pyramids 2013. You can Google it. Um, and we're there the next day, and it's just after the snow is melted, but the weather's still not good. And so I'm not exaggerating on this. For the entire area of the pyramids, I am the only white Western guy available. That's it. I'm it. One guy. And so I believe the word is touts, the people who are trying to sell things, they were grabbing me and wanting, please buy, please buy, please, or whatever. And to the point that the tourism police guy literally had to get a gun out and say, get off him. And this is like my first full day in Cairo. And at that point I was like, how long are we on this trip for? Because I was pretty much ready to come back to the UAE on day one. Um, also on our way to the pyramids, cannot make this up. The guy is driving super fast, blah 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 blah. I'm driving Cairo style, whatever. And I said to Abdul Rahman, I'm like, please explain to him, I will pay him more if he drives a little bit slower. I promise I will pay more if he drives a little bit slower. Those words didn't even leave my mouth as we literally slid into the back of a bus. It destroyed the taxi driver's car. Abdul Rahman and I had to get out and then try to find another taxi as this guy is trying to figure out how to deal with his life now that his taxi's been destroyed. And I was like, okay, I don't necessarily believe in karma, but that actually is karma. I begged him to drive slower. He didn't. Slammed in the back of a bus, which you have to understand. The buses in Egypt have a huge metal bar behind them, and because the roads were wet, this guy just didn't know how to drive on wet streets. And again, I grew up in Iowa where wet is nothing. We drive in ice. And so I do know how to drive in ice. I know how to do this stuff, but that guy obviously did not. And so I have nothing against him. I hope he's okay. But yeah, he'd have been smart to not drive quite so fast. Um, so long story short, we went on. Abdul Rahman and I went on then to. For the record, the pyramids are overrated. I think I've mentioned that to most of my classes. We then went on to Luxor, which Luxor is absolutely amazing. And we went on to Abu Simbel, which I have to say that everything in life is about your expectations going into it. And I went into Abu Simbel, right? I went into the pyramids with high expectations, and for the record, they're not that exciting. It's really not. You can buy some really you if you buy something as big as this, a picture of the pyramids, you've experienced the pyramids. There's nothing of the pyramids I was like, oh, whatever. Um, but wow, Luxor and being able to go into the catacomb. Anyhow, it just trust me on this. Luxor and Abu Simbel, um, though those are both breathtaking. Um, I'm a lucky man because I've had the opportunity to visit a whole lot of places that most people don't ever have the chance to. So I very much appreciated the tourism day where I was able to talk to the Jordanian students about how much I love Petra. I was able to talk to the German students and literally show them this is where my ancestors came from in Germany before they moved to America. Um, I my theme for this week is Egypt and marriage. And so I also want to say that uh, the reason I called out Abdul Rahman in this to start this video is the fact that I truly love him. And when he sent me a notice that he's getting married, I had already bought tickets to fly to Nepal, and he honestly gave me like 10 days notice that he's getting married. And I was like, okay. So I canceled my tickets to Nepal, and I was very happy to go to his wedding. Um, and oddly, his as as Abdul Rahman, his brother Omar, and I are doing our best with outdoor pictures because it's July, early July in Dubai, and we're all just sweating buckets. Abdul Rahman found a way to find a woman who did not sweat in that heat. And I just find that absolutely amazing. Anyhow, um, the reason why weddings is so much on my mind, though, actually has nothing to do with Abdul Rahman or Egypt. It's on my mind because a guy who's truly one of my very, very best friends and has been for more than 30 years, um, he, I just noticed on social media that he was not himself. And so I reached out to Tony and said, "What's going on, dude?" And he's like, "Thank you for reaching out." Um, Long story short, my friend Tony married somebody that his mother and his brother won't speak to him if he's with the woman he's married to. And Tony and Kim have a very volatile marriage, and they actually went so far as to get divorced. And then this summer they reconciled. And in the reconciliation, all the people who didn't like Tony because he married Kim before now are not willing to speak to him again just because he reconciled with Kim. I don't get that. I don't understand that way of thinking. Um, on the day Tony, and for the record, if I haven't told your class, I am Reverend Steve. I was the person who married Tony and Kim. So there's nothing I'm saying here that is I am Reverend Steve. On the day they got married, his mother actually came up, and I know, trust me, I know his family really, really well. He really is one of my very closest friends, to be clear. And so his mother came up to me and she's like, "Do you approve of this?" And my response to her was, "It's not my business to approve. I support my friend. Your son is my friend, Tony, who he chooses to marry, who he chooses not to marry, is not my business. And she's like, but do you really think it's a good idea? Again, I, what I say to Tony personally, he accepts, but it's not a matter of whether I think it's a good idea or not. I love my friend Tony, and if he says this is the woman he wants to be with, I support Tony. So, here's how I'll end this. There's a guy who used to teach at UAU. His wife is ex-wife is somebody who does therapy. And long story short, when they got divorced, there's something about divorce that she used to also teach at UAU, let's be clear. Anyhow, and she's Egyptian. Really, it all ties together. Okay, fine. When a couple gets divorced, no matter what people say that they're, oh, we'll all be friends with each other later, blah blah blah. It's not real. You choose a side, you know. In the case of my friend, my friend here, I'm like, I'm on Team Tim. So, um, yeah, everything's going to be okay for you guys. Again, I know there are students who are worried about midterms and how am I going to be graded, blah blah blah. Let it all go. You're going to be okay. This isn't my first rodeo. I've been doing this for 30 years, and there's reasons why my mentor knew that this is a good job for me. So I hope you have a great weekend. Exhale.